Hi, in this video we'll be continuing with the C# video series. So in this video we'll be going over lists. So a list in C# is a class in the .NET framework that is similar to an array with the following advantages. So this is a general list class. So it's exactly the same pretty much as Java. So a list object does not require, so there's some advantages to using a list over an array. So the first one is a list object does not require a size declaration. So let's just note that down here. What happened to the code? Did it delete everything? Yes, I did. Somehow. Okay. So we just need this. We'll use that in a sec. So we'll just have just a small note here. Okay, so here we have a list object does not require a size declaration. And an array requires a size declaration. So a list object does not require a size declaration. So that is a pro of lists versus arrays. Why is that? Okay. That is because this gets into data structures and analyzing them and stuff. We're just doing a little bit of data structure stuff, nothing. I've already done that whole series in Java if you're interested. It's the same pretty much in every language. Like C, Java, Python, C#, C++. It's all going to be almost the same. Minus Python's going to be the one that's like the most different. Because of the types and stuff, but it's going to be close. It's going to be pretty much the same thing in all of them. Whereas Python's just going to be a little different than the rest of them. But the reason why a list object does not require a size declaration, so the reason why that's a pro is because, for example, if you instantiate an array of 100 elements and your program only uses 50 of them, or let's say you're making a massive app, and for like the public, excuse me, like something in the App Store or something, and you need a data structure to store the data, for example. You don't just want to have it floating on the side as variables or something, because that would, to instantiate, let's just say you want to store the username and password of, or let's just say you want to store the name of a person, the names or the usernames or passwords or something. For an array, you would say, okay, well, I want maybe 1,000,000 elements will be good because I think 1,000,000 users for now is okay. If our app somehow gets to 2,000,000 users next year, then I'll come back to the code and change it. Well, if only like 10,000 people, like that's a lot, but let's say only 10,000 people sign up for your app, you're gonna have like 990,000 blocks of wasted memory space, right? Because you won't be using that. But if you have an array list, or sorry, if you have a list, and there's also an array list and a linked list, basically it's general list is just a general list. In C#, but basically you can have an array list as well, and a list, but basically like a linked list. But just pretend, let's just say we're sticking to lists. You won't really know. The user's not going to know, and you would know, but if you need a link to them, you can use a linked list. If it doesn't really matter, you can just use an array list. But basically, the user's not going to know what you use. But the list will be able to add these elements. So another point here in the notes. So that is a pro of lists versus arrays. Because of memory space, because of wasted memory in arrays. So I just explained why. Then we have also you can add or remove items in a list on the fly. So you can do it whenever. For an array you can't remove items. You can set them to null, you can set them to an empty string, to 0. You can't remove them from the memory. It's still going to be holding like null, or like, well, null just means it's not holding an object, but it's still going to be like wasting memory. Whereas in array list, or sorry, in a list, you can just remove the element completely. So you can't do that with an array. So hopefully that makes sense. So the syntax to create a list is, so this is a syntax. One sec, so this is less efficient here. So this part is less efficient. Arrays are less efficient than arrays are less efficient than lists, data structure wise. So this is a general notation list of, so we use angular brackets to put the type or object type. List of type, data type. List name points a new list of type, data type. Empty parameters. Okay, so now let's do a few examples. So this is the notes still for lists. So we'll have list of type string. It's exactly the same as Java 100%. So list of type string. We can go with names points to new list of type string. That's it. Once you get it, it's easy. You will get tested on this in university for sure. So list of type int, for example, named, I don't know, vals points to new list of type. Remember to do the type again. Exactly the same as Java 100%. There's no change. No syntax change here at all, I believe. Pretty sure there's no syntax change. So this is just a general list. I'm not actually sure how C# implements it. It's either as an array list or as a linked list, I believe. You'd have to check the debugger for that, which we probably will later on. So you can add or remove items like this. I'll show you how to do that. You can add or remove items. So for example, list of type string. You know what? There should be lowercase. That's the only difference there, I think. Java is capital S, I believe. I think that makes more sense because it's an object type, also in C#. But anyways, list of type string here. Name list. So list of type string name list points to new list. I've seen this in a lot of languages. The university test for this, at least in Canada. Specifically in BC. The professor will be like, instantiate a list of type strings, add this many elements to it. Instantiate a list of type int, of type double, add this, delete this, and then other methods that lists have. They'll tell you to play around with it, manipulate them. That's going to be a big chunk of the test. It's always on a program. If you learn it in class, it's always going to be on your test. And they're pretty easy, so you just have to do some coding practice like this, and then you'll be fine. So it's to insert an item, use the insert method to insert an item at a specific index. So insert, I think that's just special to C#. Sorry, let me just have some water here. 1 sec, sorry. Alright, sorry about that. I had my water a little bit far from where we're sitting. Okay, so insert is, I don't think Java has insert. Could be wrong. I don't remember seeing insert. I could be wrong. I'm gonna lead towards, I don't believe that it's in Java. It might be, but I'm pretty sure it actually isn't. Don't make fun of me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm leaning towards that it's not a method in Java. I don't remember seeing that word. But in C#, so to insert an item, use insert method to insert an item at a specific index. So we can have name list.insert. We could say that we want to add the string like str name whatever at index 0. So we're at, imagine reaching into the list and you want to insert an element at a specific index. So sometimes if you do this, sometimes it'll push the elements forward or back. I believe it actually pushes them forward. So if you insert at index 1 and you already have something at index 1 and 2, it'll put something at index 1 and then push slide the rest up to 2, 3, and so on. So when you add something to an index, I think it pushes the rest of them above, higher by 1. So to remove items, you can use the remove method. You can use the remove method. You can remove an item by its value. I believe you can also remove an item by index as well. So you could say here, that's the same in Java. So name list.remove. Then you can say you want to remove bill, like that. The string name bill. And then here you can say that you want to remove, for example, whatever else is in the list at index 0. So in that case, you wouldn't add a string. And you can also remove, so you're removing an index from a string type. Like that. So you can initialize a list implicitly. To initialize a list implicitly, simply define its items when you declare it. It's a list of okay, so let me do another example here. So this is it's like instantiating an array implicitly as well. I think that's what they call it. I thought there was another name. For it, but so we could just go list here of type int number list points to new list of type int, and then we want to use an initializing list. I think that's what it's called here in C#. So we go 1, 2, 3, for example, semicolon. So now we're adding items to the list like this. You can do the same thing for strings. You might have to practice this. You'll get tested on this too. They'll be like, use an initializing list. Just initialize a list, whatever this, normally, or something. When they want it normally, they won't tell you to use an initializing list or an initializing array, but then they'll tell you to initialize array like 3 different ways. So you have to know those too. It's tricky. Okay, so list of type string, name list points to new list of type string. So it points to new list of type string. This is getting the data structure stuff too. The problem with me is I don't do this way. So I know this way. So I'd have to practice this way before a test. Because I never do it like that. I always do it like this. Why would you want to add items to a list like this when you can just use a loop or something? I'd rather instead of doing this, I'd rather just use a loop. Instead of just doing this, it's like it saves time. So this way I always have to practice before a test because that's the way I don't do. So I guess the way to beat that over time is to do the things that you don't do more, so you don't have to practice them. So if you're doing an assignment and you can do this way, do it this way. So since if you already know the other way, so that way it helps you practice different ways over time. Okay, so list of type object string, name list points to new list of type string. Then here we'll just add some curly brackets and we'll just add the strings here. We could just go with str1, str2, str3. Okay. So the count property, probably write this out here. So the count property holds the number of items stored in the list. So useful in accessing all items in a list. So the count property holds the number of items stored in the list. It's kind of like this. I believe it's the size property. I'm not sure why Microsoft developers decided to call it the count property. Again, they were smoking something they shouldn't have been smoking. So the count property holds a number of items stored in the list. So it's useful in accessing all items in a list. I believe in Java it's just size. I'm not sure why they changed that. So we'll do that, an example here. So for int index points to 0, index is less than names list.count, index plus plus. Let me throw this in a actual code up here. Okay. So let me move this. Let me delete this stuff from the previous videos. I'll delete the stuff in the previous videos and then we'll just continue with that. Sorry. So let me just delete this here. What's happening with this? Something's wrong here. Alright, sorry, let me just start a new solution here. Not sure what's happening with that. Something might have got deleted or something. One sec here, should just take a second to start up this window. Alright, so there we go. Why is it still red? Or is it just supposed to be red? Or is there something wrong with this? Why is it doing that? Writer could just be glitching out. Unless I deleted something when I was clearing my PC. Okay. Let me figure that out after. So let me go with something. Let me just. Okay, I was gonna try to get the. If I was just gonna try to check if C# also has a size property. Don't worry about it then. So we'll just have here. We'll just go back to that example. So we'll pretend we had a list again. Let's go with some notes here. So we have, for example, 4. So if we have 4 int index points to 0, index is less than name list.count, index plus plus, and here we'll have message box dot show name list of index. So we'll do a example of this. Okay. So it seems to be referencing this list as an array. So don't worry, we'll check in when we do the examples, when we do the labs, what once I can fix this. Looks like .net is missing, the .NET framework. So I'll try to figure that out again. Install that for the next video. So we'll be getting into the labs now. So we finished all the notes. Well, there'll be some more notes, but mostly labs. It'll be combined with the lab videos. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys like the video, you can like and subscribe to support the channel for more programming and investing tutorials. In the next video, we'll be going over, so we'll be starting off with the labs, starting from the beginning of the notes, which was data types and reference types, I think, or something like that. Then arrays, and then lists. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I'll see you guys there. Take care.